different intervals of different lengths of intervals for scrums. This is your cycle at which you can change and iterate. In a 2-week cycle, you'd start out with this sprint planning, then have a stand up every day, every work day or so, followed by a review of that sprint, and then a retrospective. Each one of those stand-ups, you ask basic questions to each one of the team members. What did you get done yesterday? What are you doing today? And are you blocked on anything? And then it's the Scrum Master's job to facilitate and unblocking those builders on the team for each of the problems that they bring to the table. And that's like a basic kind of framework that allows teams to change with their environment.
While Scrum provides a useful structure, it does require careful planning and management to be effective, as Andrew explains.
It requires a decent amount of overhead and pre-planning so that you get the most out of the ceremony meetings. It's good to have somebody like you that's dedicated to the ceremonies and facilitating those things to kind of get everybody on the same page and used to working that way, because it's not a natural thing that if you just have a random team of engineers, they'll default to what I call cowboy coding, where everybody just kind of goes their own way and does their own thing, and whatever they find interesting is what gets worked on. It does require some management planning up front, making sure you've got a groomed backlog. That's huge. And if those things happen, then it's a very useful process, and especially the retrospective ceremony is very useful if it's run well. If you can actually look back, see what happened, and make adjustments so that the next sprint is even better than the last, then you can be on a team where it just keeps getting more and more and more velocity.
With the Scrum framework and key roles established, Chris dives into the original smart contract architecture of how their organization functioned.
So this was the original version 0 that me and Peter arrived on, based on how the smart contracts that the Adosia front end work currently. On the left-hand side, we have the multi-sig that's handled by committee members. Any payments that need to go out for orders or whatever, that's all handled on that side. And on the right-hand side, we have the Scrum, and then the 3 primary controllers for production, which is the print pull controller, the design pull controller, the global shipping controller. How they kind of function now is like that center one there, design pull controller. That's where you as a designer would send something into the system, and then a user would come and say, oh, I want to buy that thing. And that's where the print pull controller comes in, and your order would go there, and then printer operators would be able to select bids on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then the end user was select the bid that makes the most sense for them. And then the global shipping controller would just guarantee that that part of the picture is functioning. And there's the Discord and the ambassadors and the marketing part of that. There's really 3 distinct groups on the operational side currently. So you have the manufacturing element, then you have the social element, and then you have the Scrum. Smart contract really is what drives all of that.
Building upon their initial architecture, Chris explains how they have now evolved into a new organizational structure.
Okay, and this is the model that we're on now. So we have the 3 factions here. We have the research faction, the operations faction, and the community faction. And so where obviously community faction and the operations faction was really kind of in the same cluster. Instead of having 5 kind of distinct clusters, now we have 3 autonomous bodies, because all these things need to be funded in various ways as far as the Treasury is concerned.
To ensure this evolved organizational structure functions smoothly, Quasar suggests conducting customer journey simulations.
To really identify what all these roles are, what all the gears are doing, where the communication lines need to be, where communication lines don't need to be. So all those kind of things need to be accounted for.
Have you tried doing any customer journeys or simulations or dry runs on any of this?
No, but that's an excellent idea. You said customer simulation?
Yeah, a customer journey or all of your user stories, including, all your roles. What does the journey for each role look like?
Kyle emphasizes the importance of a gradual transition as they establish their new governance organization.
As we start, this governance organization, the way I see it is it's going to begin operating within the organization, and then slowly functionality, it would be relinquished over. Like, we can't just say, oh, we're going to start from bootstrap and expect it to work and hit product market fit.
Can do that as we move forward. What is going on with my stream? Is my audio breaking up at all? Matthias, can you hear me?
Oh, it's green screened.
What happened?
Some glitch, I think. Can you move your mouse a bit so I can see if it reacts? Yeah. I could hear you though, but your stream was lagging a little bit.
We did just get a whole bunch of snow this one too, and my fiber connection is.
Moving to a broader industry discussion, Adam from Clarity DAO reflects on the evolution of business models and customer relationships.
Before we were centralized, we were decentralized. The people who made the products were selling them to the people in the same town, and they were saying, I don't like that. I don't want that. And they had a very intimate relationship that wasn't about the transaction. It was about the town. It was about the people. I think we've gotten really far away from that, but then we introduced this new technology that goes across all barriers, that connects everybody, that gives us a trustless way of working. And I think we're starting to come back to the point of customers having a say in how the business is run. I might not be producing that good, but I want to vote because this is my local DeFi coffee shop, 3D printer, whatever. And I think that's where you don't have to incentivize us. We just haven't had this opportunity. And I think people don't know what to do. Our muscles are very weak. Working collaboratively. It's usually working top down. And so I think there's going to have to be education and a reawakening, but I think it's happening.
Adam elaborates on the concept of exclusivity and inclusivity within purpose-driven groups.
So imagine you live in a neighborhood and the neighborhood decides to create a DAO and it's to manage the park, and they want to have an ice cream truck that comes by every Friday, and everybody's willing to contribute $10 a week to that. I don't think anybody outside that neighborhood should get a say in the park or the ice cream truck. There is an exclusivity from the purpose of the group, but an inclusivity within the group.
Hey everyone, this is Newman. First off, I want to say thank you for the invitation. Thank you for this project. Thank you specifically for really good documentation. I'm looking at your reporting on the projectcatalyst.io. You've opened up so I can see your notes, and that's really phenomenal and sort of an outlier, in my opinion, in the Project Catalyst thing. So I wish more projects would document like you do.
Newman highlights how Scrum's iterative nature aligns well with defined sprints and seasons.
Iterative nature of Scrum definitely plays a part, meaning that you've signed up for a sprint, you've signed up for a season, and then people can fulfill those things. It's kind of atomic.
TiVo raises a question about treasury operations and the role of advisors versus team members.
It feels like a multi-sig is like a treasury operations, but it's unclear to me who, is this meant to be that different team members have a say of what's get rewarded and how, or because it's closely related to advisory board, it means that advisors actually kind of release the burn rate and not the team members themselves.
Building on the topic of organizational structure, TiVo inquires about conflict of interest policies.
Is there any plans of enforcement or policy of conflict of interest? For example, I would imagine that ambassador coordinator could as well be the advisory board, and he's advisor and he's willing to take the ambassador role because he's advisor.